William Evans. I'm here to bring you the latest from the world of news, but of course beginning with the headlines. Economic experts affirm that Rwanda has made significant progress on its path towards genuine economic independence following the presentation of the draft budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. While Rwanda Biomedical Center reports that in 2024, over 58,000 people donated blood, where young people accounted for 65.3% of all donors. On the international scene, the Israel Prime Minister has vowed to escalate strikes against Iran, saying Iran was planning to supply terrorist groups with nuclear weapons. It's always a pleasure having you join us for RTV News in English. I'm William Evans, and this is the news in detail. Now, economic experts affirm that Rwanda has made significant progress on its path towards genuine economic independence, and this is following the presentation of the draft budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. The draft budget projects that over 91% of the funding will be domestically generated, while less than 9% will come from foreign aid and grants. We do have a report on this. Rwanda continues to build its economy on domestic capacity and homegrown solutions rather than relying heavily on foreign aid. According to the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, the majority of the 2025-2026 national budget is expected to be financed through internal resources.
Hafi 91 cyangwa 2% by'ingengo y'imari.
Almost 91% towards 92% of this proposed budget will be domestically funded. 80% towards 9% will be externally funded. Economic analysts note that reducing foreign aid and grants below 9% of the national budget marks a significant milestone in the country's journey towards economic sovereignty. It also reduces the pressure and influence that often comes with aid from donor countries or international organizations, as explained by economic researcher Professor Jide Karuranga. Over the years, we've learned that when someone is giving you aid or support, it comes with conditions and sometimes unfair treatment. So, when we hear that 9% of the budget will be from aid and grants, and the biggest portion will be domestically funded through taxes and internal loans, of which the country has the capacity to repay, that is something very important and pleasing. Economic experts also commend the government's recent tax reform strategy aimed at expanding the tax base rather than increasing tax rates. This approach is expected to improve revenue mobilization, as remarked by economics strato Habyarimana.
Iyi misoro wabonye mu byukuri yatekerejwe muri iyo gahunda yo kuvuga ngo ni gute twabona amafaranga menshi.
These taxes you've seen were considered as a measure to generate revenue domestically, but without being disruptive to the citizens. This will highly contribute towards self-reliance. The 2025-2026 fiscal year budget outlines the following revenue breakdowns. 4,105.6 billion Rwandan francs will come from domestic taxes, while 2,151.9 billion Rwandan francs will come from external loans, and 585.2 billion Rwandan francs will come from foreign grants and donations. This means that Rwanda's internal sources will fund over 91% of the total budget, with foreign aid contributing less than 9%, according to the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. Now, following the Microfinance Technology Summit held in Zimbabwe, several leaders of the microfinance institutions from across Africa have expressed interest in conducting a study visit to Rwanda, and in addition, some countries have formally requested to host the next edition of this annual summit, which is organized by Rwanda. We do have a report. The Executive Office of AMIL, Jackson Kwikiriza, welcomed the outcomes of the summit, highlighting the opportunities it created for knowledge exchange and showcasing Rwanda's role in advancing digital financial inclusion.
So we did that, looking at the countries that were here. We had nearly 15 countries from Africa and Europe. We had around 12 fintechs that were here exhibiting. We had over 150 delegates from different parts of Africa. So that is really very good. And most importantly, you saw that the Minister of ICT requested that we bring this summit back next year in Zimbabwe. We have already a demand from Tanzania, And we also had a request from Somalia so we can go there and organize this summit. We are expecting a delegation of 60 CEOs from Zimbabwe that are coming to Rwanda in August to learn from the microfinance sector, the concept of Mulenge Circle, the automation and consolidation. So of course, this is now opening doors for visitors to come to Rwanda, and collaboration not only between Rwanda and Zimbabwe, but also between Rwanda and other parts of the world.
Rwanda's ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency James Musoni, says that trade relations between the two countries are steadily strengthening, a progress he attributes to several factors, including President Paul Kagame's diplomatic efforts in advocating for the lifting of international sanctions that had been imposed on Zimbabwe. Ambassador Musoni also noted that business people from both Rwanda and Zimbabwe are now actively investing in each other's countries, which is fostering deeper economic ties.
So far, we have some Zimbabwean investors already in Kigali and different parts of the country, and we do have Rwandans here in manufacturing, in trading, and we expect numbers to grow because both governments have facilitated private sector to understand opportunities that exist within both countries, and we expect private sector to take advantage of that. Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans generally do appreciate the role our President, His Excellency Paul Kagame, plays in advocating for the removal of sanctions, because right from the time our President was the chairman of African Union, his voice was loud enough and has always been the case to say that Zimbabwe does not deserve to be under these sanctions, because these sanctions constrain their capabilities to support socio-economic development of the people and of the country. So Zimbabweans are very grateful. They know our president, beyond his Pan-African spirit of promoting the development and the integration of Africa, and in the process to see the Africa we want, they also recognize that beyond that, he's also moving another step to support Zimbabwe to be sanctions-free.
Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, many citizens view President Paul Kagame as a hero, appreciating his leadership and the positive impact of his advocacy.
President Kagame, to me, is a true son of Africa, true son of soil of Africa, a good soldier who soldier on with development. I can see Rwanda is becoming a hub for all African countries in terms of development. I can say we are a good friend to Rwanda, and we are copying from Rwanda. The city is smart. We are copying that from Rwanda. Every first week of the month, as a nation, we are copying Rwanda to clean our streets. As the president, His Excellency President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, is doing it as it is being done in Rwanda. The relationship with the Zimbabwe and Rwanda is going further and further. Here, we just thank you, the Rwanda people, for your persistence, perseverance, and a peaceful country as it is. Here in Zimbabwe, we are just saying greetings, and we thank you so much for supporting Zimbabwe in every aspect.
Various children protection agencies believe that there must be strong collaboration between parents and local authorities to address the persistent challenges facing children, such as school dropouts, child labor, and other related issues. These concerns were raised during the national celebration of the Day of the African Child. This was held in Rusizi district. Niyokwizerwa Divine, a first-year secondary school student at Gihundwe B School in Rusizi, said that while she is fortunate to attend school, some of her peers are denied this opportunity by their parents, despite efforts to tackle these problems. Sabimana Theodore, who represents Friends of the Family in Rusizi district, noted that some parents lack unity, which causes some students to fall into situations that lead them astray. While Sis District hosted the national celebration of the Day of African Child, Ingabire Assumpta, Director General of the National Child Development Agency, emphasized that more should be done to solve these challenges. Jean Bosco Ntibitura, Governor of the Western Province, called on all institutions to join forces and take urgent measures to build strong, healthy families that ensure the well-being of children. The Day of the African Child is celebrated by all member states of the African Union and was established in 1991 and is observed annually on June 6th to commemorate the children who were killed during the 1976 Soweto uprising in South Africa. These children were demanding their rights, including the right to education in their native language instead of English. This year marks the 34th time Rwanda has celebrated this. Moving on with more news, the Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, through its blood transfusion division, has announced that no one in Rwanda is currently dying due to lack of blood, and thanks to strong national measures put in place to ensure a steady and timely blood supply where it is needed. Now, this announcement was made during the celebration of the World Blood Donor Day, held under the theme Give Blood, Give Hope. Together, we can save lives. Blood donors used the occasion to emphasize that donating blood is a noble act that everyone should take part in, while Dr. Muyombo Thomas, Director of the Blood Transfusion Division at RBC, affirmed that the country has taken every necessary step to prevent any loss of life due to blood shortages. Mugabo wa Gahunde Maurice, Governor of the Northern Province, encouraged more people to continue donating blood, noting its life-saving importance. RBC reports that in 2024, 58,688 people donated blood, providing 84,383 units, notably young people accounting for 65.3% of all donors. And now, despite these achievements, the public is urged to continue donating blood as the need is constant and critical. Also on Saturday at Shangi Catholic Parish in Nyamasheke, a special mass was celebrated to mark the 125th jubilee of the arrival of the gospel in Rwanda and the 125th anniversary of the Catholic priesthood in the country. Parishioners expressed a sense of pride and responsibility, noting that Christian faith took root in their region, which calls them to reflect on their faith and strive to authenticate Christianity. The mass took place at Gafuba Hill in Chigaga, the historic site where Eucharist was first celebrated on Rwandan soil by Bishop Jean-Joseph Hart on the January 20th of 1900. Thousands of faithfuls, including clergy and consecrated persons from various parts of the world, gathered at the sacred site to honor this significant milestone in Rwanda's Catholic history. Cardinal Anthony Kambanda, who presided over the Mass, urged both priests and lay Christians to remain steadfast in God's will and to avoid anything that may lead them astray. Some of the parishioners said they were honored to live in such a historical significant place in the life of the church and felt it gave them an added responsibility to reflect on their spiritual journey. In response to the suggestions that this area should be further developed in line with its historical importance, Honorable Emmanuel Karemera, a member of parliament, assured them that the government would continue to partner with the Catholic Church to promote the development of the local community. And this celebration was a triple jubilee, 125 years since the arrival of the gospel in Rwanda, yet it is also 125 years of the Catholic priesthood and anticipation of the jubilee of 2025, marking the salvation of the world through Jesus Christ. Now, the leadership of Rwanda's Muslim community has expressed gratitude to the government of Rwanda for ensuring a smooth organization and safe travels for Rwandan pilgrims who performed the Hijjah in Mecca this year. The pilgrims were transported directly by Rwanda Air, who flew to Saudi Arabia without stopovers in other countries. And on Saturday around noon, a Rwanda airplane landed back in Rwanda, bringing home 70 pilgrims who had successfully fulfilled the fifth pillar of the Islam called hijab, which is an obligatory for every able Muslim. Those who took part in this sacred pilgrim commended the work, organized travel arrangements, and the warm reception they received from staff at the Rwandan embassy in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Mufti Sheikh Musa Sindai Gaya, the head of the Rwanda's Muslim community, thanked the Rwandan government for playing a key role in the smooth facilitation of this year's Hijjah, and emphasized the importance of upholding the spiritual and moral values gained during the pilgrim. He also urged all returning pilgrims to live exemplarily, living a life that reflects the discipline and devotion demonstrated during the pilgrim. Thanks to the use of the dedicated Rwandan flight, the trip to Saudi Arabia now takes only about 4 hours, a significant improvement compared to the 12 hours journey in the past that often included layovers in other countries. Experts in early childhood education believe it is essential to teach young people about political governance to help them develop a sense of purpose in life and a love for their country. Now, this report is brought to us by Enora Gladys.
Teaching children about governance also involves learning about the country's political system, including how laws are made and other related matters. Some young people express that learning about governance and understanding how it works is very beneficial to them.
So I'm interested in things of politics. I like looking some news. I see some deputies. I learned how the parliament works, how the deputies work, how the senators work. And I knew their rules. It's important because I want to be someone important to the country. Like my motto is like, I want to be a hero. I want to die as a hero of Rwanda.
I really wanted to know more about political education and civics, so I came here with my other classmates of primary 5 to learn more and to see like how it looks like, how the parliament works, and the way they handle us, the way they deal with conflict management. It helps us in future, like people want to become deputies and senators and even presidents as well. It helps them to know what they will do. Like they develop patriotism for the country and they know what they will do in future to increase their political knowledge, and they can to be better people in future. Learned that the legislature has 2 major institutions that make up laws, including the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate.
Yes.
So the Chamber of Deputies is composed of 80 members and the Senate composed of 26 members that make up laws in Rwanda.
Member of Parliament Honorable Diogene Bitunguramye from the Committee on Education and Technology emphasizes that all schools in Rwanda should take part in teaching children about governance.
Sobanuye gutoza abakiri bato gukunda igihugu no kumenya.
This means instilling patriotism in young people and helping them understand the country's vision. The main purpose is to teach the core values of the Republic of Rwanda as stated in Article 9 of the Constitution, which are unity, work and patriotism. These fundamental principles of the Republic of Rwanda encompass everything the youth need to know, and it is important for them to understand and live by them. In Rwanda, a large number of young people learn about governance and politics through a program, which was initiated by the government.
Moments. Laying hoops. Giving away. Making moves. family, Inyanje is always there. Whatever the occasion, whatever the moment, always ask for Inyanje.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo agira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashisha, ariko byaragiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Welcome back from that very short break. Now, RTV News continues with international news. Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to escalate the strikes against Iran, and the Israel Prime Minister has said that Iran was planning to supply terrorist groups with nuclear weapons, hence the need for the preemptive strikes. Euronews has the details on this report.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Saturday that Israeli air forces dealt serious damage to Iranian nuclear facilities and that Iranian leaders are packing their bags. The extent of the damage and whether Iran's nuclear program can survive is not immediately clear. An Israeli military official said that strikes on Natanz and Isfahan were able to damage the sites significantly. However, Iran says the damage is limited, while acknowledging the deaths of 9 experts.
בזמן הקרוב ביותר אתם תראו את מטוסי ישראל, את חיל האוויר של ישראל, הטייסים שלנו, מעל שמי טהרן. אנחנו נפגע בכל אתר, בכל מטרה של משטר האייתולות, ומה שהם הרגישו עד עכשיו הוא כאין וכאפס למה שהם ירגישו תחת נחת זרוענו בימים הקרובים.
In his speech, Netanyahu further claimed that if Israel hadn't acted, Tehran was planning to give nuclear weapons to their terrorist proxies. Adding that the operation has clear support from US President Donald Trump, Netanyahu pledged to continue the attacks. The escalating conflict has derailed planned US-Iran nuclear talks, which were set to begin on Sunday.
Iran is considering closing the Strait of Hormuz, possibly escalating the situation in the Middle East. But what is at stake for Europe if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked? Euronews continues.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard commander said closing the Strait of Hormuz is under consideration in response to Israeli attacks. But what could this mean for Europe? The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically vital choke points in the world, and any blockade by Iran would pose serious risks for Europe. Roughly 20% of global oil and a significant portion of natural gas pass through the strait. If Iran blocks it, global oil prices would spike and Europe could face energy shortages. A sudden oil price surge would increase inflation, energy costs and disrupt industries across Europe. Manufacturing, transport and agriculture would be especially vulnerable. Beyond oil, the strait is a key route for global shipping. Disruption could delay European imports of raw materials. A blockade could also trigger military confrontations involving US or EU navies, risking a broader regional war.
Russian strike on a Zaporizhia warehouse has destroyed over 100 tons of humanitarian aid. The warehouse in Ukrainian city was struck by drones in the early hours of Saturday, rendering the humanitarian aid unusable. Euronews once more.
Russian forces attacked the Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia overnight, injuring 2 police officers and a civilian, local officials say. Shops, a multi-story building and a public transport stop were reportedly damaged in the attack. In one part of the city, a charity official said a Russian drone hit a warehouse storing humanitarian aid.
Зараз все уничтожено. 2 дні тому ми отримали допомогу 5 фур. Приблизно, що здесь було на $3 мільйони.
Ukraine's military says its overnight drone strikes targeted 2 Russian chemical plants across the border tied to explosives production. Both sites were described by Ukrainian officials as key suppliers of raw materials and components for Russian weapons and fuel production.
And of course, with that report, we come to the end of RTV News in English tonight. I am William Evans, and from me and the entire crew, have a good night, good luck, and bye.